And that, was he just friends with your dad, or was he also in the police?
He wasn't in the police, so my grandpa was part of this cult. He still is, which trickled down to my dad, and they live about a block from each other. Mm-hmm. And then where the area where this was happening in the woods, they lived very close to the location site. So in order to get higher on the chain, cults have a chain, you're the highest up, where you start, lowest. So my dad was somewhere in the middle because he was the chief of police, or he was in the police. He wasn't the chief at the time. He had more power, he had more resources, he was in a good location spot, and he was generational in bloodline. So he had a little bit more going for him, which put him in the middle of the cult. So to get higher up, you recruit people, and my neighbor at the time, Keith Slevin, he was this alcoholic, very angry, just hitting dogs, hitting people. So my dad was like, this is a perfect opportunity, So he took him in under his wing, tag teamed with him, and brought him into the cult, which gives him more points, or whatever you want to call it.
And can you describe and kind of explain from your experience, I guess, how these satanic cults are ran, like kind of the ins and outs of them?
Yeah.
Because I feel like I've heard the term, but I've never really had it explained, or someone with firsthand experience.
So California, New Jersey, New York are the main trafficking and cult areas. It happens all over the country. This is just one of the small towns that trickle into the bigger abuse. So it's based off seasons. It's a seasonal cult. It happens in the fall, the spring, not in the winter, not in the summer. That's when it happens. They go by seasons. They have their own special calendar about what they do. They wear masks. That's an important thing, is they always would wear these masks with bones or whatever they wanted to scare you. And it was also a power thing, is I have this mask on, I look more powerful, I killed this animal. So what they would do essentially is we would go into the woods and we would play games, which were not games, and we would have to watch. There was a lot of fire. It was very fire cult. A lot of fire would go on, a lot of burnings of animals, animal skins, humans as well. What scared us the most is, okay, we're doing this to these people that we've trafficked. Why won't we do this to you? You need to be scared for your life, because we just did that to this young girl or this young boy. So why wouldn't we do it to you if you're not acting well?
So they were actually burning young kids.
Yeah.
So it was, this cult was intertwined with trafficking.
Yes.
Okay.
That's how it worked.
Do you know that, in their mind, what were these sacrifices doing for them? Just giving them more power?
I think a really weird aspect of it is when you're a child and you're going through this, you're kind of just trying to survive. So yeah. I'm there, and I always said, you know what? The more you close your eyes, the better. When the big sacrifices were happening or anything, if I can close my eyes, I'm going to close them. So I would close them. The less I see, the better it is. The less I hear, the better it is. The less you have to remember and see. So I would do that unless I was forced to keep my eyes open during these games, events, abuse. I never quite understood what the point was as a kid. I just was trying to survive more than anything, and I knew it was, they wanted to take this. It gave them more power. It was a thrill for them. Taking kids' blood is essentially something they would do.
And how long would these sacrifices last, usually? Do you know?
Go on about an hour or so.
Okay.
It depended on the holiday, it depended on the event, but going through it as a kid I didn't need to understand, and I was so young, and I was put into this is what normal is. Your father is doing this. This is kind of normal, and I knew it wasn't normal or right, and I wanted to speak up, but I didn't know any differently since I was born. You want to love your parent. So after this, now that I've gotten older, I've gotten out of it, I've been doing more research on what was I really a part of? What was I in? And it's very interesting to be like, wow, this is what they were doing. You know, just going online and doing research of what I was really a part of, and not just being there. Because when you're there, you're trying to survive and nothing else.
Would your mom go to these sacrifices?
No. My mom was not aware of the sacrifices. My mom would be sleeping. My dad, as a police officer, groomed my mom since she was 19. I think they started dating was the age. And he kind of just was always like, yeah, you never need to worry about cameras being in the house. You never need to lock the doors. You don't need to worry about sexual assault. Why would you be worried about this? I'm a police officer, I'll tell you. And she truly did believe him. She came from a upper class family and didn't know any differently.
Did she know that he was in a cult at all, or
no?
Okay.
So she didn't know until I was
removed from the situation.
She was totally removed, which is a little bit different with our story. Is she wasn't in it at all. There was no part of her.
Okay.
He could have been giving her sedatives like he gave us every night.
Right. He just was controlling, basically.
But he was controlling this, and most domestic violence cases, the mother's abused and then the kids are abused. But so she wasn't abused, like mentally, yes, but physically, no. She was never physically abused, as of my knowledge, and as she's spoken. Mm-hmm. Which is why she had no idea. So when I was 16, I had to get surgery. I've had 2 surgeries. When I turned 12, I was in a lot of pain, and I would be leaking, UTIs, constant issues, endless pain. I went to a couple doctors. They'd be like, it's normal, we don't really know what's going on. And I'd be like, okay. Once I turned 16, I was like, something's really just wrong. I know I'm in pain, like, this just isn't right. I had clitoral adhesions from the abuse done, which they can't say for sure because they don't know. But it's usually with a lot of usage, which wasn't done by me. It was done by my father, unfortunately. And then I had adhesions where I had to get a minor surgery, put knocked under at 16, which is when my abuse kind of started all pouring out, and I started speaking to my mother about it, and when she first heard about what was really going on and why we were sick.
And what was her reaction to that?
At first she wasn't in denial, but there's a part of you that wants to be in denial. She believed us, she listened to us, but she didn't fully believe it. She just kind of was like, okay, yeah, sure, like, you know, I'm here for you.
Have all of your siblings come out at the same time, or was it just you?
All similar times. So first it started with me and my older sister. She knew I had been, and she's like, well, yes, the same thing happened to me. And me and her came out at the same time, and we didn't want to bother my younger sibling. And then it wasn't until DCP&P, Child Protective Services, came over that he started spilling out his memories after that. When we were children, the sedatives that my father was giving us was making us so sick. There were days where I would walk up the staircase and I would fall over. Like, walking up the stairs was so hard for me. I would just get lightheaded and fall over and have to lay on the ground. I couldn't shower. My sister, when she was in 7th grade, my older one, she turned completely for 6 months, not able to function. She couldn't walk, she couldn't move, she could barely talk. She had severe brain fog. She was stuck on our couch. She would lay on our couch, and I thought she was gonna die. So my mother took her to endless doctors. She took us to all, like, a handful of doctors, being like, what is wrong with my kids? I was acting out mentally. My older sister was physically, in a sense. She couldn't move. She didn't shower for months. What's going on, you know? Like, what happened? And my dad just kind of sat there like, doesn't matter to me. Take him to doctors.